Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Unlock the Secrets to Attracting and Retaining Top Talent. We're excited to have Adam Robinson, our very own CEO, leading today's session. We'll give it about 60 seconds for attendees to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, hello everyone. I think we're about ready to get started, but before I hand it over to Adam, if you want to skip to the next slide there, I'd like to quickly cover a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded and we'll be sharing the recording along with the full presentation within the next 24 hours. Secondly, we will have some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions you'd like Adam to answer, please make sure to use that Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. All right, Adam, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks, Tara, very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Hireology, based here in Chicago. And if you haven't heard of us, Hireology is a leading applicant tracking system dedicated to providing recruiting and hiring solutions specifically for senior care providers who are looking to build great teams. And so here's what we're going to be doing with our time together today. We're going to spend some time going through the state of the job market. We face some unique economic pressures, from government mandates to an ever-changing and fluctuation labor market and availability of talent. And those factors are really leading to the pain you're feeling today and have been for years, frankly, to try and stay staffed and deliver exceptional care. So as a way to better understand how to respond to these market conditions, we'll go through Hireology's latest research report. Hireology is really unprecedented access to the employment data and related to healthcare job seekers. Each year, we conduct a survey of thousands of those job seekers in the space to uncover exactly what top talent in the facility-based care space are looking for when it comes to work and the job search itself. So based on these results, we'll identify what it takes for healthcare employers like you to capture your fair share of talent in today's competitive labor market, which ultimately helps you provide better care. So I believe the key to success in today's tough hiring market, is through understanding the high-level trends we're seeing and then adjusting your hiring process and strategy accordingly. So let's take a look at what we're seeing in the market. Today, we find ourselves navigating two distinct job markets. So on one side, we have what we'll call the tech and knowledge work industry, where many companies have been conducting layoffs and implementing hiring freezes, a ripple effect from the pandemic, frankly, and subsequent overhiring. So as a result, the pool of active job seekers in tech and knowledge work far exceeds the number of available positions. In stark contrast, industries reliant on essential workers like ours are experiencing a completely different challenge. There is a significant shortage of talent in this industry and growing demand, and this shortage stems from multiple factors. First and foremost, the pandemic prompting many workers to reassess career paths. It was just tough for many years coming out of COVID. Combine that with decades of declining interest in the industry and certainly a shrinking number of schools, the retirement of baby boomers, you name it. There's just a scarcity effect right now, and it directly impacts your facility's ability to provide the volume of care needed. Well, given this scenario, it's really crucial for communities and facilities to innovate their recruitment, hiring, and retention strategies. With the current imbalance between labor supply and labor demand, the workers in our industry really hold leverage right Therefore, it's essential to understand what they want and how you can address their needs regarding job design, the hiring process, and overall employee experience. The post-acute care industry is currently the fastest growing industry in the United States from an employment standpoint. The population of adults 65 and older is going to double from 49.2 to 94.7 million people. The number of adults 85 and older is expected to triple from 6 to 19 in the next 30 years. And by 2030, 1 out of 5 Americans will be 65 and older. And these are stats I'm sure you're very, very familiar with. There aren't any other industries that can say that this kind of latent demand increase is just kind of baked into the business demographics over the next 3 decades. In skilled nursing and assisted living communities, 4 out of every 10 employees turn over within the first 90 to 100 days on the job. So we have this massive demand growth, and the labor supply is already restrained, and we really have a tough time keeping people once we've hired them. So it's just like a perfect storm of challenge that we're all facing right now. And it costs on average about $4,000 to replace an employee in the senior living space. So there are 58 caregivers on average per organization. And with an average 40% annual turnover rate in the first 100 days, providers are spending about $200,000 a year in turnover costs. Turnover costs are entirely preventable with optimized recruitment and retention strategies. And that's really what we're here to spend our time on. In my opinion, it's the biggest untapped ROI potential in your facility. If we can cut the turnover rate in the first 100 days and do that with better hiring practices and onboarding practices, the bottom line payoff is massive. In first 100-day turnover, and I'll tell you, is after the 3rd month, after day 100, it's really on the management policies and practices of the facility to keep people there. That's really more retention. If folks are turning over in the first 100 days, I'd like to think of that as a recruiting and onboarding problem, right? You need to be bringing people in who are a good fit for the organization, a good fit for the role, and of course, onboard them and build a sense of community very, very quickly, so that in this very tough industry, they feel like they belong and they've got a place. And we're going to talk about that in the results of our study. So let's dig into that. Each year, Hireology surveys applicants for jobs in the healthcare industry that come through our system. So we've got fairly large scale and are seeing thousands and thousands of job seekers every single week come through to our customer base. And so we can see the data. So how can we learn more about the motivations and needs of today's job seeker to help you be more competitive about the most important part of your business, which is who you put on your payroll? Hireology seeks to understand in this survey what they expect in the job application and hiring process. We also look at what motivates them to choose their employer ultimately, and what makes them stay loyal to this industry and to the facility that they work at. So with our time today, I'm going to share some insights from this study with the goal in mind that really you're taking 1 or 2 things back to your organization in order to find a way to make recruiting, hiring, and talent operations a competitive advantage. So listen for that nugget or 2 of value that you can take into your role, to leadership, or into the organization that help you just be better at what is most facilities' number 1 challenge. So first, let's get down to it. Recruiting and hiring at its core is a sales and marketing process. It is not an administrative process. There's so much of what we deal with on the HR side of this business is about risk mitigation, and it's about making sure roster coverage is there. It's about liability and benefits, running payroll, very administrative centric tasks, very internally focused. Recruiting is a sales game. It's all about selling trust, earning trust, and getting someone to choose you over the 15 other potential employment opportunities that they have. And that's about selling, which means we have to think about this in the way that top sales organizations think about it. And I'm going to share with you, a little bit more about what I mean here. 90% of healthcare applicants or healthcare employees report that they're looking for work almost always, right? Actively looking for employment. And so here's what your competition looks like. Applicants know they have options. And in our applicant study, we asked, how many jobs do you apply to when you're looking for work? What continues to blow us away is that the overwhelming, majority of applicants to healthcare positions apply to, 11 or more positions. 60+%, 5 or more. And more importantly, 3/4 of those applicants in that 5 or more job, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing as an employer to stand out from the 5, 10, 15, 20 other employers that this person's talking to? How do you stand out? Well, we look at the survey results and we find the blueprint. Left to right here, you'll see a stack rank of importance in terms of factors someone's looking for when they're looking for a new job. So first and foremost, and not a surprise, is the pay or salary range aligned with my needs? That is another way of saying it. Will I be paid fairly in this role? This is followed closely by the following. Second, career growth. Something this industry has always had a challenge with. Does this organization offer continuing education opportunities, things like tuition reimbursement or mentorship programs, or critically clear pathways for advancement within the field? If I come to work for you, is this more than a paycheck, right? Other than fair pay, it is the most important thing you can be selling. Remember, this is a selling process on the front end. After that comes good culture and working conditions. So does the community offer a supportive work environment, manageable patient loads, reasonable working hours, and opportunities for collaboration and teamwork? Like, do I have what I need to do the job? Do I like the people I work with? And is a reasonable workload placed on me? When we're understaffed, it challenges all of those things. It leads to more hours, less manageable patient loads. Collaboration, teamwork's tougher. Resources are constrained. So this is a virtuous cycle. When we're able to keep a more full roster, we are able to deliver on the things that this workforce says that they're looking for. After that, it's fulfilling or enjoyable work. Am I proud of what I'm doing? And am I proud of the employer for whom I work? Can I make a connection of my day-to-day work to a part of me that's fulfilled by doing this work? And then finally, schedule flexibility. Can I integrate my life and my job in a way that works for me? Can I make work for me? Taking this a step further, because salary is still ranked very highly in the survey, we asked a secondary question. Other than pay, what motivates you, right? What would encourage an applicant to take a job even if it wasn't paying the salary requirements you were looking for? Said differently, if you're offered a job below market, what would have to be true for you to take it? And what comes here really stands out. For the last 3 years in our survey, these 3 items continue to be the top of the list. Number one is good culture. Is this a place I see myself working long term? Do people who work here not only enjoy their coworkers, but is the environment one that motivates me to do great work? Second, schedule flexibility. Can I make this job work with my life? This is not a work from home question, right? This is not a work from home business. It's about the needs of an employee's life, balancing with the needs of their employer at work. And then third is career growth. Again, it's the more than a paycheck question. If I come to work for you, I'm going to go somewhere. Will I start my career or continue my career on the right path? Is this an investment in my professional future? So then the question becomes, if I can offer things that meet applicants' needs, like flexibility or career growth or a job that sets them up for their future, are you advertising it as such? So when was the last time you looked at your open job descriptions to see if those items are featured at all, right? For example, come join our XYZ Healthcare to launch your career and find a place to work that meets what you're looking to do. Come join us and be a part of our family, be a part of the community, etc. Right? This, what you're seeing on the screen, is the blueprint. And so the first assignment today, so I want you to ask the last person you hired successfully why they took the job at your facility. And then go look at your open job descriptions and see if what they're saying are the reasons they took the job. Are those reasons reflected in your recruitment marketing? Do you have alignment there? And what I often find when we're auditing job descriptions is that what we're selling doesn't match what you actually offer in a way that undersells the opportunity at your facility. So it's a good exercise to just audit the language you're using in the marketing of your job descriptions. This question, very interesting. How many offers did you receive in your last job search before accepting one? In our survey, 67% of folks responding to the survey took the job by the time the second offer came in. By the time the fifth offer came in, there were only 5% of people still hanging around seeing what was out there. And so here's the moral of that story. You have to be the first or second offer that gets to someone. If you are not running a recruiting process that puts you in a position to be the first, ideally, first offer, you're going to lose 2/3 of the market. You're not even going to have a shot. By the third offer, you've lost almost 80% of the market. Speed is the absolute most important thing. We call it Hireology, we refer to it as hiring velocity. Your hiring velocity has to be such that you can be the first to make an offer. That is the most critical KPI you can measure your recruiting or talent acquisition team on. Were we the first offer? If we're not the first offer, of course, we have to be the first offer to someone we actually want to hire. We can't just ship offers without a process to do a quality control. But if we're not first, we've got work to do. That's the most important thing you can do. And the first step is often just knowing what hiring managers are sitting on applicants that they haven't reviewed. That's a strategy to employ. More on that in a little bit. We asked about culture, and so let's talk about that. Culture was the hot topic, coming out of the pandemic into the last couple of years, as the war for talent was raging everywhere in the economy. It was what everyone was talking about. But let's be clear, when we talk culture, it's more than just what the break room looks like or the work perks. It's really about the total environment you're creating as a team with your employees and with management. And so these are some quotes from right out of our study from individuals talking about what culture means to them. It's care about employees. It's a supportive environment. It's encouraging collaboration. Lots of comments about ethical and social responsibility. So as you think about how you market your roles and how you deliver on these promises to employees on the front end, you know that culture is in the top 3 of their list of things they're looking for. And in their words, it's about, let's call it an intent on the behalf of the employer to show care and support and encourage collaboration. That's really what this means. Culture is a core factor to making you the employer of choice and what makes job applicants today choose to put you in their number 1 spot. So let's talk about where today's applicant chooses to look at whether or not you've got a culture that fits. Over half of applicants begin at your career site to learn about your culture, meaning it's your number 1 destination for a first impression to uncover if you meet those needs, followed by rating sites like Glassdoor, and then to Google searching about your companies. So let's take a look at a career site that works really well to drive applicants to markets. If, here's a couple examples of providers who make sure to have their career site be leveraged as a competitive advantage. So Arbors and Ivy both proudly display testimonials from employees who share how much they love working for them. So in other words, it's like, don't trust us as an employer. Listen to our employees talk about how much they love being here. And then Epic is using pictures of staff and residents together to show what it's like. And so it's the picture worth 1,000 words moment. words are important, but if you've got a culture you're proud of, grab some staff and interview them. Interview them on video. Of course, ask their permission to post it to the site, but let the culture speak for itself. So the second assignment I have for everyone after this webinar, I want you to pull up your company website in addition to auditing the job description content for those key signals that I shared earlier. Navigate to your career site and look at it and say, does this really represent our culture? Is company culture front and center? Are we selling the culture that we want to sell here? The next thing you want to do is apply to a job on your own career site and just note the experience that you have. Is it easy for me to apply to a job on our career site? Am I asked to create a username and login, for example, before I'm able to apply to a job? Well, if we're doing that, we are really making it tough for applicants to apply to our position versus how easy it could be to apply to companies that don't have these gating features or the giant online applications to fill out. And we just have to make it easy. We have to be the most customer friendly, if you will, employer in the market. And when we do that, we're just going to get a better result. So flexibility, the scary topic. We dug in over the years to see what this means for everyone. And honestly, what it means to employees and employers can vary pretty widely here. It's not as binary as work from home. Mainstream kind of commentary on this is about work for home or work for office, but they really fail to take our industry into account here. There's no work from home in the healthcare industry, not really. Charting, maybe, and that's about it. Maybe some call center work, but with trained medical professionals and certified professionals and caregivers, you're really doing this in person. It's not work from home versus not work from home. Here is where some trending write-ins on our survey really interesting to us. They're looking for a couple of things. Number one, a compressed work week. Can I do intensive shifts that's front loaded based on the week? Could I do 3 or 4 day intensive shifts and have 3 or 4 days off? Will you allow me the flexibility to do that? Second, can I choose my own schedule? If I have a conflict, can I switch shifts? Can I manage my work schedule around childcare or family or personal needs? And then finally, is on-demand pay. This is becoming more and more of an option that I know employees are looking for right now, and they're writing it in on this survey. What this means, with the introduction of gig work, several years ago, app-based work, Uber, Lyft, etc., Instacart, DoorDash, that the skilled laborer is looking for ways to manage their own pay. I want to work when I want to work, and I'd like to have access to wages as soon as my shift is over in most cases. And so you don't have to do any or all of these to show you have flexibility. My advice, though, is to take a survey of your own staff and spend time documenting the conversations you have. You can ask a question like, in what ways is the facility could we do a better job of helping bring flexibility to employment here? It's not really a work-life balance thing these days. It's just life. How do you support their lives, their work lives, their professional lives, their personal lives? It's also integrated these days. And then when you have that answer, you advertise it, and if you don't support it, my challenge to you is try one small thing. What one step forward can you as an employer make to show flexibility towards the team, either in the way that they're scheduled, the number of hours they can work, the number of days they can work, or how they access their pay. Watch how people react. I promise you the small steps matter too. And then career growth. You really want, when you audit your job descriptions, to make sure you're offering details around career growth. So some of the best marketers of opportunity in our customer base actually go so far as to diagram career pathing on the career site and to say, if you come in at this level, what you could be doing is working your way towards a director of nursing position in your career in this very simple example. So in this hypothetical career path. Yours may certainly vary. You're coming in as a CNA. Perhaps we have employment and education reimbursement policy or support your additional licensing or training on your path to becoming a registered nurse, potentially a director of nursing someday. That's a very simple example I gave you, but I would encourage you to ask yourself, does our career site chart a path professionally for people we're bringing in at the caregiver role? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a path up and a professional path that's defined, where they know, look, if I'm just going to take a paycheck, I'm going to take the biggest paycheck. But if I'm someone looking for a career or an employer I can stay with, it's got to be more than the pay. It's got to be the career path. Okay, so we've talked a bit about how to design a job that they want and how to market culture that they're looking for, so you get folks, top talent applying for your positions. Now we're going to talk about how to make sure you capture that lead. That's turning applicants into candidates and eventually employees. This should be no surprise to anyone, but almost 2/3 of today's applicants are using a mobile device to apply to jobs. So little audience participation time, either now or at the conclusion of this webinar. As I said earlier, I want you to get out your phone and try to apply to one of your open positions. I want to ask you to share, but if you don't like the experience and you see this data point on your screen, it's your first and most important task. Make the career site application process mobile friendly, because they have zero patience for long and clunky online applications. So 66% of applicants in our survey said they're just not going to apply at all if the application takes too long. And 55% said if this thing takes more than 30 minutes, I'm out. I'm just going to abandon it. So we talk to so many recruiters and operators in the senior care space all the time and ask the question, why do you put so much into the front end application? Oftentimes it's because the job application flows into their payroll system eventually. So it's really designed around making it easier for the payroll team to have the record ready. You can have the record ready without having to have someone retype their resume with their thumbs on the front end, or without having to create a username and login to apply to a job. You're trying to make sure you can give yourself the most at-bats, is just how I'll say it. You want the most at-bats possible with the top talent in your market. We cannot afford to cut ourselves off from top talent because we've built these administrative hurdles into our process. We have to think of this with, as the process of selling opportunity, and our customer is that applicant. We need to build a process around the customer. How frustrated do you get if you're waiting, 30 minutes in line if you've ordered Starbucks and the mobile order hasn't come through, or the plane Wi-Fi is slow, it doesn't work right away. I mean, you have to wait. We're trained to be impatient. No one has the patience for lengthy applications, and in fact, the field limit we recommend is 7. Once you pass 7 fields on a job application, what we find is that the rate of completion drops, or drop-off rate falls by about 7% for every field over 7 that you ask. So you've got first and last name, you've got a cell phone, you've got an email address, maybe attach a resume or apply through the Indeed Apply feature. That's it, really. We then capture that information. We can follow up and in subsequent steps get more of the information that we need. We don't have to do this all up front. So let's take this a step further. You're asking me to list out on my phone, typing with my thumbs, my last 3 jobs in an application, but you're also asking me to upload my resume. Now, why do I have to do both of those things? As I said, applications should essentially be an indication of interest: name, location, email, phone. That's it. We just want to capture the lead. We can then follow up and ask for more information. If they've got an online apply profile at Indeed or ZipRecruiter, we can pull those things in too. But what we don't want to do is have someone retype their work experience with their thumbs. And we certainly don't want to make a resume required for submittal, because most people don't have resume files stored on their mobile device. So we're literally saying to 60+% of the market, If you're on a phone applying the job, we'll wait until you're at a desktop to apply. It just makes everything so much harder for you. So let's show what this looks like. On the left is an application, online. One of our customers uses, using one of our templates. It's a couple of fields, 15, 30 seconds to fill out. First, last name, optional address, contact info, 5 fields, and you're done. On the right is an example of the type of application we see all over the place, and it looks frankly like a tax form. I mean, think about having to type all that information. It's giant scroll wheels with dates. It's really daunting to try to figure this out. So when you go to your own career site and attempt to apply to a job at your own employer, just note the experience. Is it more like the experience on the left, or are you experiencing what it looks like on the right? You want to aspire to be the shortest and fastest process. And finally, what would you make? Why would you make someone create a username and password? 63% drop off. If you gate the application with the requirement to create a login, you're cutting 2/3 of your traffic. It's already so hard to get people to want to work at our place of business. We're losing traffic if we're gating that. So if you note that you're requiring a username or login, again, I repeat it because it's that important. You've got to work to remove that step. Either you work with the provider that whose technology doesn't require that, or find a way with your current provider to eliminate that. It's really really impactful. But let's repeat this one more time, and then you can take a second to think about how you can approach it. So 66% of today's applicants will not apply if it takes too long. 50% won't apply if the application repeats resume information, and 63% won't apply if the username or password setup are required. If you do one or all of these things, you're cutting yourself off from a massive portion of the market. You just can't afford to do it. So, here's your hit list, your homework assignment. Clock the application, note the experience of applying for a job on a mobile device, and see if there's a username and password required to apply. One of these is bad, 3 of these is really harming you. If you want to know more about that, how to address these issues, certainly our team is available to do that. So we've designed a job that they want. We've made the application process easier. How do we continue to communicate with that candidate to make sure we keep this process moving? First, it's just speed to response. More than 50% of job applicants in our survey said they expect to be interviewed, not responded to, but actually interviewed within 3 days of applying. That's not scheduled. They want to be in your facility talking to someone about working within 3 days of applying, right? So if you know your average time to interview, fantastic. That's, you want to clock that from the time the application shows up to the time the interview takes place. If you're at around 3 days, you're doing great. If you don't know how many days that is, there's some work to do, right? It's just such a critical KPI. You want to know. You want to know where you're at. So think about it from today's talent pool perspective. The average healthcare applicant has the ability to be selective in their process, as we demonstrated. When they have made a choice to apply to a job, they are at a point where they want to make a move quickly. That's why they take the first or second job 60+% of the time. It's why they want to be interviewed in 3 days. They want to know if they're in consideration or not, right? If you want to beat competitors for that talent to the punch, you have to be first. You have to be fast. They want to hear from you often. This is a new data point in our study. We asked, how often do people want to hear from you as an employer that they applied to? 1 in 5 want to hear from you every day, every single day. They want to know where they stand. Less than half on the other side only want to hear from you weekly or less. We all get inundated with texts and emails, and automation and tracking tools exist to make this not a cumbersome task for your team. Why not communicate with them more frequently? This is an area so ripe for automation. It doesn't have to be a long message either. Hi, thanks for the time yesterday. We're working internally on next steps. Let me know if you have any questions. Quick, fast follows. Hey, we're working on setting up an interview time. Thanks for your application. We'll be in touch. We want to keep the conversation and the dialogue going. Nobody likes being ghosted by an employer, having their application fall into a black hole, showing up for an interview and never hearing anything back. So they want to talk early and they want to talk often, but how do they want to be talked with? Well, they want to get texts, plain and simple. So fun exercise. Who here loves getting email? Raise your hand proverbially. Nobody. Outside, we're in election season. I don't know. The number of text messages we all get is onerous at times. Still, you look at every single one of them, to be honest, right? You look at them. Text messages work. Now ask yourself how many personal emails you have that are unread. For some of you, you may be zero inbox, and that's very impressive. But for people, most folks, me especially, I did 60, 70, 80,000 unread emails sitting in my spam folder or in my inbox, just getting marketed to all the time. This is today's applicant. You've got to use the tools available to reach them in the way and through the channel that they prefer to be reached. And that's text messaging. So we want you to take an email-centric approach and shift it to a text or SMS-centric approach. Doesn't mean using personal cell phones and numbers to text folks. It means you have to have a platform to do it in a way that's FCC compliant and cost effective. No one likes candidates who ghost the first day or who ghost the interview. Here are the reasons in our survey folks do those things. Number one, it's lack of communication from the company. 41%. I ghosted because I just didn't hear from them for days. Second, I received another job offer. I was in the middle of the process. I got another offer. I took the other offer. That's 30%. And then third, the recruiter didn't get back to my application fast enough. All three of these reasons for ghosting interviews are things that are completely within your control. It's about speed and it's about follow-up. Now, let's talk about building an asset you can leverage, and that's your own candidate database. Well, how many of you thought about or actually do reach out to previous applicants when you're looking to fill a role? Now, over 90% of applicants today are willing to consider companies they've applied to before. If you're looking for someone who aligns with the career path and the culture you offer, why not go back to the leads you've already found, right? You've already got such a valuable asset in your applicant database. You've invested time in their application. You've hosted paid positions online at third-party job boards. Put them in a campaign and send them a text message. Let them know that you'd love to talk to them about a job that just opened up. This approach can help you reduce hiring time and improve the quality of hire substantially, and reduce the cost it takes to get applicants in the door. Don't forget about previous employees either. It's not just applicants. 80% of folks in the survey told us they're willing to boomerang back to an employer they had a great experience at. Even if they've worked for you already and left, this doesn't take a lot of effort to send a text, to stay in touch, and to do that systematically. Additionally, applicants are overwhelmingly going to listen to friends about where to work. 93% of applicants say they will apply for a job if a friend vouched for the company. So you can turn your best employees into your best recruiters by leveraging a referral platform. Incentivize your current staff to refer other staff from their latest employer. People want to work with people that they know, who they've worked with before. It can be a really powerful recruiting tool and ultimately a retention tool as well. So in summary, I've spent a lot of time on our research and on the front end of the application process, and it's all based on the data we're seeing from job seekers today. They want more than a paycheck. They really do their research to see if you're more than that paycheck. Once they've applied, they expect to hear from you really quickly and often, and by phone, through text messaging. And they want to stay in contact throughout the entire process. So your homework assignments: audit your career site, audit your content, apply to the role on a phone, note the experience, and then just ensure that you're including in your recruitment marketing the things that they're looking for. And internally that you're following high velocity hiring practices and you're talking with applicants in the way that they want to be talked. This provides really a blueprint for you to analyze where you are and make changes that are going to help make this easier for you. Of course, Hireology stands ready to help you through this process, and we'd love to hear from you if that's the case. So Tara, with that, I'll turn it over to you to see if we have any questions from the audience.
Yeah, so with some time left, we can definitely open the floor to questions. So feel free to drop any you might have into the Q&A. We'll get to as many as we can, but I'll kick it off with a few that have already come in. So Adam, this is a really great question. Your survey data shows that healthcare job seekers prioritize flexible scheduling. Can you elaborate on why this is so important to them and which kind of flexible scheduling options seem to be the most appealing?
Yeah, I would answer that question. Let's ask ourselves the question: do I value flexibility in my own role? Do I have it? And if you have that flexibility, you know how valuable it is. You can expect that your team members will have the same place the same level of value on that flexibility. I'm much more likely as a healthcare worker to stay with an employer that understands that sometimes life happens. That gives me the opportunity to pick my shifts. That allows me to work compressed schedules, 3 or 4 day weeks. All of those things say, hey, look, you value my skills and what I bring to the table, such that you're willing to offer me flexibility. Management is willing to put the time in to make this stuff work. It's all super critical. It's important to them, but you know how important it is. It's important to you. It's important to everyone on this call.
Great. Another one here. It's no surprise that we're really struggling to attract qualified CNAs. What are some of the biggest turnoffs for CNAs in the current job market, and what would you say is the most important starting point to make a facility more appealing to them?
Yeah, there's a list I can go through with you here. Just off the top of my head, the most crucial starting point is addressing compensation and working conditions. So when CNAs in the survey show up with a point of view, and it's generally around comp and working conditions. So number one, competitive pay and benefits. If you haven't done it in a while, and I know most of you do this all the time, review your compensation packages to ensure they're competitive within your region. Offering higher wages, I mean, that's the easy button, but sometimes that's not always possible. Sign-on bonuses, but the things that we've talked about that are the non-monetary benefits, shift flexibility, on-demand pay, tuition assistance or forgiveness plans, career pathing. Those are all part of an employee value proposition that, if you seek to be the employer of choice in your market for CNAs, you got to check all of those boxes. Second is just improve staffing levels. So CNAs in surveys say understaffing leads to stress, and that seems self-evident, but ensuring adequate staffing just reduces burnout and improves job satisfaction. So that can either be a positive reinforcing cycle or a negative reinforcing cycle. Better staffing leads to higher retention, worse staffing leads to higher burnout and higher turnover. So getting it right on some of the things I talked about throughout this webinar to increase the velocity and kind of the staffing level at the roster level will address these issues on retention. The staffing leads to better job satisfaction. And then third, enhancing the work environment. It's modern equipment, air conditioning, the lighting. It's the cleanliness and safety of the space. It's a welcoming environment for an employee that communicates to them, your experience is important. We care about your work environment. It greatly influences CNA retention. Those are just some of the things to think about. A lot of them are easy to say and certainly with constraints more difficult to do, but not, none of this is easy, but those are the things I'd start with.
Okay, great. And we got one more, unless any more pop up, but this last question. Many healthcare workers, especially younger generations, are highly motivated by opportunities for career advancement. We don't currently have clear career paths or development opportunities at our facility. What are some ways that we can start to provide clear career paths to attract and retain ambitious employees?
Yeah, if you've never been through the exercise of developing or charting the career path in your organization, don't go to the internet. I would start with someone who's worked with you for a long time, who's moved up in the organization, and have them tell their story. You can have someone, and this could be in video form, this could be an employee testimonial or case study on your career site. Here's Adam talking about, he's been with us for 8 years. He started in this role. He then moved to this role and then moved to this role. Here's Adam talking about it. Or it's in my own words saying, I started at ABC Healthcare or Senior Living, working, second shift in the cafeteria. And I moved up to be a shift manager. And then I was the director of food and beverage for the facility. And then I got really interested in nutrition and I got more certifications. And now, I'm helping, as a director of food and nutrition for, the 5 facilities in our network. I'm responsible for meal planning. I mean, that's the kind of thing that, you don't want to give a generic answer. You want to answer the question from the perspective of someone who's been there and done that and is very happy working for you, for whom that career path has been delivered. That would be where I would start.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that is a wrap up on the Q&A. Thank you so much, Adam. If anyone has any additional questions or would like to learn more, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@hireology.com. We'll be sending up a follow-up email in the next 24 hours, including a recording of today's session, and also a full download of the applicant study that was talked about. So keep an eye out for that. Again, thank you so much for your time today, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.